Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Awashai, Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Awashai, Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Howell, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, which you well. I want to say salutation to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim, the Sadakim, that do this thing of the ambush, truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shaman. We're going to be getting into another chapter that's dealing with the destruction of America, all right, Babylon, aka America. I'm going Jeremiah the 51st chapter. You know, when you Jeremiah wrote a letter, right, to Babylon from the 49th chapter up until the 51st chapter, and it's a future prophecy. And when you align the prophecies that you read about in Jeremiah 49 to 51, it doesn't match ancient world Babylon. You know, I mean, ancient world Babylon wasn't utterly destroyed by nuclear fire or fire. It was rather captured overnight, fairly quickly. So what Babylon is it talking about? What land of confusion is it talking about? It's talking about America. So without further ado, let's just jump into 51 and 1. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. And this is going into a thermonuclear wind. Okay, when these nuclear missiles detonate at ground zero, they don't touch the floor. They detonate at ground zero, and which is, you know, I can't say the exact amount of feet in the air it is, but pretty much when it detonates, it creates a nuclear just wind, a blast, a cloud that blankets the area that is meant to target, which is heat. Okay, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her. This is talking about a bellowing fan. The bellowing fan is the one you push like this, like, and you know, you do that to add more oxygen to fire, to make a bigger flame. And what this is prophetically speaking about is the other nations also hitting America with missiles. Even America's allies such as Great Britain or what have you. But America's going to be hit with missiles from India, South Korea, North Korea. I mean, we all know about Russia, places in the Middle East. It's going to look like all out. And they show you this in movies, right? Terminator 3, Judgment Day. Was it X-Men, Apocalypse? They're always showing you images of the world, like the Earth, and then missiles being shot from one corners of the Earth to the other. That's all going back to the Bible. This is all Bible prophecy. Okay, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, that shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble, they shall be against her round about. And again, this links up with scriptures like Obadiah. All right, those nations that was once confederate with America shall no longer be confederate with. In fact, they're going to break all their covenants. That's what it really means. Those that break bread with you, all right. In the scriptures you hear about a covenant of bread and salt. Breaking bread means we establish a covenant. Salt was used to preserve things in the ancient world, so this means this covenant was preserved. All that is going to get ripped up. All right, treaties, all that's going to get ripped up. The Most High is going to put something in the mind of whoever's leading Russia at the time this thing happens, whether it's Putin or whoever the fuck it might be, an evil thought to just say, look, to hell with it. Fuck mutually assured destruction. Turn them keys and let these missiles off. And you know, once these missiles are shot, they can't be drawn back into the silos. And once a hypersonic missile is put towards your destination, there's no fleeing. There's no way you can hide. There's not a bunker deep enough. You know, the only way you're going to get delivered is via the chariots. Verse 3: Against him that bendeth let the archer bend his bow. This is going into the nuclear silo. The term for defective missile is broken arrow. They even had a movie called Broken Arrow. So the missiles are arrows, you know, pretty much. You know, the same way the head of the arrow is where the hurt lies. Same thing with the nuclear missiles, right? The projector is pretty dangerous itself, but really the head of the nuclear missiles, where, you know, you have multiple nuclear warheads that could wipe out entire cities. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine. Brigadine is, chainmail. Like you watch Game of Thrones, under the armor they have chainmail. So that's what the brigadine is, like sort of defense. So America boasts in its defense system, and it does have the right to. America leads in air-to-air defense, sea-to-air defense, but Russia leads in land-to-air defense, right, with S-400 and S-500s. But this is how come the American Army is so proud. The American military is funded far more than any other nation in the world. In fact, if Earth was to go to war with Mars, let's say aliens were on Mars, hypothetically speaking, and Earth went to war with Mars, 64% of Earth's army would be the United States. That's why Trump is talking about leaving NATO, because, again, I think over 70% of NATO's army is the United States. So really big in their military, really funding their military, and that leaves a lot of pride. That's how come they do what they do, because they're like, who could touch us? But the missiles will touch this virgin. Okay, America's cherry will be popped, meaning a war will hit this place. America's always gone to other places, but this war, World War III, is going to be hitting America. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Scriptures in Isaiah 66 and 15 to 16, which goes into the destruction also, tells you that the slain of the Lord is going to be many. Okay, a lot of people here are going to be turned to dust. Every time the prophets say this, whether you go back to Noah, whether you go back to all the prophets that prophesy about the kingdom's downfall, you always give warning. But what's the general consensus? I don't believe that shit. We were good yesterday until things happen. Nobody thought a rain would fall from the sky until it actually happened. So it's going to be the same thing with the missiles. And once the missiles start hitting, once this thing kicks off, there's no turning it back. That's what people don't understand. And it's a thing that is inevitable. You got to stop and think, why would the Heavenly Father give man this knowledge, Isaiah 66 and 15, this knowledge to create such a destructive device if it weren't to be used? A nuclear missile, to build that is the complexity is crazy. The Most High got to be behind it, and it's for his purpose. It's called the waster, to destroy. It says, thus the slain of verse 4, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are trussed through in the streets, the land of the Chaldeans. Again, another code word for America. Keep saying it. We all keep saying it. You're not going to find America in the Bible. There's a lot of words that we use. You're not going to find it in the Bible. Okay, the Bible is a mystery, and it's up to the prophets, the apostles, the elders, the brothers, to break these things down, because the Lord reveals his secrets to the servants of prophets. 5. Jeremiah 51 and 5. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power, of the Lord of hosts. Right, so the Lord has not utterly forsaken Jacob. He has a remnant. All right, the elect, the 1/3, and within that elect 1/3 is 144,000 men, prophets. That's going to be telling you, warning you, Jake, get right with the Lord before he comes back. Of hosts, through their land, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Right, so even though we went off, the Lord is very merciful and will forgive his people, all his people eventually. Verse 6, flee ye out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off of her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. And flee out of Babylon, meaning get your mind out of Babylon. Right? Doesn't mean take a plane to the land of Israel, because that's going to be destroyed as well. You don't want to be in a Babylonian mindset. You get what you can out this world. You use this world, but not to abuse it. But if you're trying to, just be a worldly dude and not partake in the truth, you're gonna suffer the same judgment as Babylon, which is destruction. 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken from the philosophies. The scriptures say they stagger, but not with wine. The philosophies, such as democracy, such as LGBTQ, OnlyFans, your child is equal to you, all this bullshit, you know, gay Bible. It's just madness, you see, and they forced that upon the world, and the nations drank it, and now they're seeing the sort of the blowback of having your society run this way. You know, very degenerative behavior. Okay. Can we not go in? I mean, just not even fuck with it. It says Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right? You know? Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. Look, the scriptures in Revelation said this place is going to go up in smoke in 1 hour. This is a vast land. All right, 500 miles, 300 across, 200, 500 in width, 200 in height. It's a large, and it's going to take 1 hour. All right, so that's a sudden. You know, that actually fits with ancient world Babylon though, because it went down suddenly as well. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. This is a little sarcasm for the Lord. You know, trying to put ointment on a shotgun when you can't. If so be she may be healed. You know, you can't heal Babylon. Verse 9 tells you that. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaches onto the heavens, and it lifted up even to the skies. Right, so the nations are going to forsake this place, go back to their own land, because the judgment is in for this place. You know, the Lord had brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our power. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Zadakim that do the singing the utmost truth and sincerity. Our brothers, I'll continue the chapter whenever approach my destination. Shalom.